Hi everybody, can you hear me? All right, so this is, I assume, the last session, and a lot of brave people are sitting here, but this probably will be the most important because this is not about Gyan, this is new applied now, right? This is going to make you believe that there are startups in India which are doing, fantastic stuff. So, chalta hai? If I can figure out, so this is just a Dilbert to get you going in terms of the demos which we are going to have. But more importantly than that, it is about deep tech, it is about innovation, it is about things happening in India. So I'd like to open up a question to the audience. What do you think is the biggest technology innovation which has come out of India, which the globe and the world has appreciated and accepted? Anybody? The biggest? Aadhaar is close, yes. Yoga, well. All right, it's this, if I can get into it. Mangalyaan, right? This is something which makes me as an Indian proud, and I heard the project manager of Mangalyaan doing a presentation some time back, and I, being an ex-army officer, also got up and saluted her. The kind of work which ISRO has done, right? 74 million it took us to take the spaceship to Mars. Do you know what took NASA? How much money NASA took? 10x of that, right? And any of you have seen the movie Avatar? Avatar was made at 100 million. So this happened at 74 million, and this is real cool high stuff, right? So with this, I'm going to get into introducing you the first founder. These are two brothers. They started, the elder brother was still in college when he started the entrepreneurship, and the younger one was still in school, right? Both of them are chartered accountants and self-taught coders, and have built probably the best AI company of India. In their spare time, they meet Steve Wozniak for breakfast. This is true. They meet Warren Buffett for lunch, and then they like to have a quiet dinner with their family, right? This is, so please join me in welcoming Raghav Aggarwal of Trutech Flute.ai.
Thank you, Avnish. I basically need to appoint with Warren every day, but yes, we had a very interesting opportunity to sort of work with him. So if I can have my PowerPoint up. So the camera needs to thank you. All right, so I just want to talk to you a little bit about our company and then go into some exciting demos about what our company is doing and what we're sort of building. So we're Fluid AI. That's not our office in the Empire State Building. We're still based in Bombay. The company came about, we dropped out of our respective MBAs. One of the winners at TechCrunch Disrupt Hackathon. Today we're a 50-person team doing interesting stuff in the space. So he's asked Warren what he should invest in, and Warren's going to give a very interesting answer to this one.
Invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself.
You can't beat it. I see people that can increase their potential.
And what's really cool about this technology, it's all through the browser. There's no app to download. There's no kind of technology that there's no friction in the experience any longer. It's all through your mobile phone browser. Real time in terms of the voice to text. From there, we're going back. You can ask it a bunch of questions. We have a whole knowledge base of Warren's questions. And then you sort of get them answered straight away. So, we are really excited in terms of what this can do in terms of the mobile experience. But we are also taking the same technology and we're taking this in the real world, in the physical world, where we're reimagining the bank branch of tomorrow to see what it can do and how we can sort of interact with it. So what's going to happen out here is there's an avatar on the screen. She's quietly sitting there reading a book. And she's noticed me, so she's kept aside her book.
Hi, welcome to Fluid AI.
And she's welcoming me to this bank, and I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to sort of, she's giving me a bunch of options, whether it's English or Spanish, what I want to interact in. And then I can sort of interact using my gestures and voice with her. So it's the same experience that you have with...
Hey, you still there? Why don't you hover your hand over any button?
So she notices that I'm not doing much right now, so she can give me sort of feedback and say, hey, I'm not doing anything. Can you sort of hover your hand over any button and sort of take this experience forward? So I select English as my language. Now, one of the very cool things we're doing is we are all enabling 30-second account opening. So it takes a photo of me. I can show it my Aadhaar or PAN card. It can read that number off, compare the photo with my Aadhaar photo, and if there's fingerprint reader there, we can authenticate you and we can get going an account within 30 to 45 seconds. So that's a really powerful use case that we're excited about. Now let's say I'm interested in new offers that this bank has for me. That's also possible. So I can just use, I can go ahead, I can discuss credit cards with it, I can sort of have a full experience of this technology by just, and I can give feedback. So I can throw my hand left or right, and it's virtually like gaming, but an experience which I control with my gestures and voice. So this becomes exciting. Imagine the paradigm wherein you're interacting on your phone with an avatar who recognizes you, and you go into a physical space, maybe a retail store, maybe a bank branch, and that same kind of experience can sort of continue for you regardless of what you sort of are trying to achieve there. So it becomes something that we are really excited about in terms of achieving, in terms of what we can enable with this technology. And if you saw, the setup is really cool. It's as little as my little Surface laptop out here, and I'm running everything off that exactly. So, we really feel that as an AI company, we're not only revolutionizing what can be done on the experience side, but what can also be done in terms of enabling decision making. So these avatars, okay, I think now my PowerPoint is given up, but these avatars can sort of go ahead and not only decide what you want to converse with them, what they want to do with you, but they can go ahead and interact with you in terms of knowing what's next for you. They can do facial recognition so they can understand who you are. If they don't know who you are from identity, they can do age gender recognition to say, okay, this is a 30-year-old male, this is the right product to push to him. So it becomes a whole showcase of the future in terms of what's possible and how it can be done using just AI technology. We're very proud to be building it out of India. We have offices in Bombay, and we hope to sort of, lead this with all of you here in the room. Thank you.
No, 1 minute. So thanks, Raghav. Was that cool or no? Right? This is all coming from India, right? And Raghav, I have one question before you go. Everybody is now talking about AI, right? Everybody is on the AI bandwagon. How do you say, what is so special about your technology which differentiates it and really make it a true AI company or startup?
I think what's really cool about what we're doing is that we're not only making AI abstract in terms of it's not just a back-end decision-making technology. What we are trying to do is bring AI as close to the consumer as possible. So whether it be on your phone, is a physical experience, and do back-end decision-making, we are sort of trying to get that wholesome vision across so that the consumer of tomorrow is the consumer who can sort of have that new level of experience, which is powered by digital, but it's still very personalized, still very real, still very natural. I think that's what's exciting about us.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, and that is what inspired me of all the thousands of startups which I see. As Dr. Shyam was saying, I am on the advisory board of only one, which is this one. So I'm very proud of that. All right, thanks a lot, Raj. Okay, so we know that digital experiences are dictating our world, whether it is how we work or how we live. So I'm going to now call Ganesh, who's the dynamic CEO of Whodat. And Whodat is actually revolutionizing the whole AR, VR space. They have been here since 2013, have made a few pivots, but now seem to have found their sweet spot. And they have been funded by Idea Springs and probably are building some of the best and most advanced AR, VR technology which India has seen. So Sriram, Ganesh, over to you. We're going to see a video.
I thought the best thing to do was to start off by just showing a quick demo of what we essentially do. So we're an augmented reality company focusing on very core technologies. And one of the things our technology does is understand spaces. So if you're able to see what we're doing, this is just a regular smartphone, and we just scan this area, and we're able to put objects within this area. So essentially think about it as Pokemon Go on steroids. So just like how we are able to put our dragon here, you can sort of visualize any products within this space. So you can actually go closer to it. I'm not sure if you can see it, but yeah, let me just stop this. So hi, I'm Sriram. I'm from Whodat. Whodat is an augmented reality company, and we've been focused on building really the core components using which people can create AR experiences. It did take us sort of 3 years to figure out what we really were and how we really wanted to do stuff. But over time, we realized that what we are really good at, more than identifying true business use cases, was to build core technologies, and just knowing how difficult it is to build core technology. It was very difficult for us early on to convince investors to sort of invest in a company who was just building technology. So we did something different. We went and convinced customers. We actually managed, so we have customers across 5 countries right now, and we built a bootstrapped and profitable business over the first 3 years, just convincing customers and letting them know on the belief of AR. So our ideology on this whole philosophy of just investing in technology is that to identify right use cases, the technology has to reach a certain point. So what we understood was, if we can partner with customers and sort of tell them that the moment we get the technology to a certain level, X, Y, Z would be the use cases, we actually found that there were customers and partners all over the world who were sort of willing to fund our growth. And this April is when we closed an institutional investment round from a VC who was sort of willing to back a core technology startup who was still, looking for a larger use case. And at this point of time, we are working with multiple customers who have multiple use cases. We still don't have a particular use case, but I think our business is in technology empowerment and AR empowerment for companies who want to do various things. So yeah, that's essentially what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So I think, the thing which I really like about them and which we should all appreciate is that when we talk about deep tech and we keep on crying that no deep tech is coming out of India, deep tech requires a long gestation period, right, as what these guys are doing. And the ecosystem needs to come in place to support these people. Only then will deep tech come out of India, right? That's something which is very important. Now, the other thing I want to ask you a question is that people say that between AR and VR, AR is going to be the future. Yes. Obviously, it seems that you believe that, but do you have any comments on that, and why would that be?
I think I'm sorry to offend anybody, but I think it's kind of crazy to compare the two. I think each one has its own use cases, and instead of really so when you want to immerse yourself in the world, and if you want to create an experience where a physically challenged person could visit multiple countries and you sort of give them that opportunity, you would want to approach it using a virtual reality mode. But at the same time, if you want to look at a building, so one of the scenarios that we're looking at is point your phone at a building and know which apartment is available. So you want to do something like that, you need context of the real world. So I think each has its own. We personally are closer to AR primarily because we see it as a larger, not a use case or an opportunity, but a larger widespread. I think that is going to come into every person's life. Virtual reality might not come into every person's life. That's why we are interested in building those core technologies.
Very diplomatic answer. Thank you very much. Excellent, Sriram. Thank you. All right, so last but not the least, this founder is the alumnus of IIT Kanpur and London Business School. He's a reformed banker from Goldman Sachs, right? And he and his co-founder Joe have built up a company called Touchkin, which is probably talked about in terms of one of the best health and wellness company, not only in India, but Asia Pac. And I would like to now invite Ramakant on the stage to talk about Touchkin and how that's going to change the life and wellness quotient of Indians. Ramakant.
Thanks, Avnish. And thanks, Accenture, NASSCOM. It's great to be here, everyone. So I'm here to talk about something slightly unusual, which is mental health. It's not just the angry baby who's saying that the world is on fire. This is the WHO, which is saying that 1 in 4 people suffer from mental illness sometime during this year. So if you look around you, the 4 people left and right, back and front, one of them probably has a mental health issue. It might be you. And I think everyone's suffered from stress, from depression, anxiety. I suffer from anxiety. Being an entrepreneur, I think that's kind of part of the game. We started, in fact, life as to solve a family care kind of use case. A couple of pivots later, we realized that actually mental health and depression and anxiety, these are the bigger issues of our time. A close friend, 20-year-old son committed suicide. I saw my father go through social isolation, so it kind of became personal. The reason why we built Touchkin and we built out the product. But it's not just a use case. Mental health is not just a use case. It's also a business case. And I think as we delve deeper into it, we kind of started working more and more. We realized that in healthcare, there's a huge amount of correlation, comorbidity between mental health and physical health. 30 to 50% of people with chronic diseases also have mental health issues, and vice versa. The risk is very high when you have depression that you will suffer from things like diabetes or cardiac disease. So it's a double-headed arrow which kind of points towards each other. The number one cause for people not adhering to a medical regimen is depression, because when you stop caring about yourself, you stop caring about medicines and your health. And the economic cost is significant. $1 trillion is a number which is bandied about. A lot of it is due to absenteeism, low productivity, and of course the cost of healthcare. So there is a business case. There is a business case around mental health, and what we wanted to do was think about the 2 billion people. If 1 in 4 people on earth have a problem around mental health, that's around 2 billion people. So how on earth do you scale? So it's a very, very large problem. We think it's an unsolved problem. How do you scale something which can support 2 billion people in a way where, in a situation where there is stigma, there is denial, there is lack of access, people don't want to talk about mental health. I think all of us recognize that. Even if you had somebody in a family, those people would not want to come and speak about the issues they're facing because they don't want, in fact, we have users who came and told us that they don't want to talk about depression to their parents because they don't want to appear weak or mentally weak. And I think everyone's kind of gone through it and everyone can empathize that. So in a situation like that, how do you build engagement? How do you build something which can help people start talking about this? The second, of course, big problem is not just engagement, it's efficiency. So how do you do this? How do you provide services without hiring millions of therapists? Because there aren't enough to go around. And the third one, of course, is that whatever you build needs to work from an efficacy point of view. So that's kind of the problem statement of what we are trying to solve. The way we tried to do this was to build a 3-part solution, where the first part is actually trying to build user context. So we're taking data from your phone and with user permission, of course, and especially in a healthcare setting, where you can take data and then you can create a user context which helps you understand if people are facing a mental health issue. For example, we've done trials where we've been able to use mobile phone sensors to predict depression with an 85 to 90% accuracy, because the phone mirrors your behavior. So if your calling pattern changes, the way you talk to people, the way you move around, if you start moving around a lot at night, you're finding it hard to sleep, the phone usually catches that. So you're able to pull all that data and you're able to create a picture of somebody, and you can kind of do risk stratification, which is very useful for healthcare providers and insurance companies. But what we realized in the pilot when we started life, in fact, with passive sensing and creating user context. Then what we realized was it's kind of like building a fire alarm, but there's no fire engine. So what happens even if you identify somebody who has a problem, you need something to intervene. And that's when we built an AI coach. It's just another name for a chatbot. It's a chubby little penguin, so I moved from an angry baby to a chubby penguin, which is an AI coach which engages people and gives them therapy. So gives them therapy in a self-help context. And when you understand high-risk behavior, either through passive sensing and phone data, or we can also integrate with wearables and IoT devices, or with something which the user has said, you can actually you can escalate that. It goes into a dashboard, and real-life coaches can take over, or real-life therapists can take over. So it's a three-part solution which you can integrate this with any kind of app or any kind of other platform which a provider might have. It's secure and compliant. It's compliant with data residency and security requirements in the EU, the US, and various other countries. And it's voice and language ready. It's right now available in English. You can talk about, and a lot of people have found that this is extremely, extremely useful. So people have come back and told us that they've found this useful where there's nobody else to talk to. They don't want to talk to anybody else. They can't talk to anyone else. So they can talk to Wysa. How does it solve the problem of scale? So what the proposition here was that if you have a face-to-face, which is obviously the best and the highest form of support you can provide, you can probably support 500 people. So 1:500 is the ratio. But if you go to the very bottom, then if you have a therapist or a psychologist who's built clinically valid therapy technique through an AI chatbot, you can support 500,000 people. And in between, if you start doing risk stratification, you can then escalate and you can probably support 50,000 people. So that's kind of the scale problem which you're trying to solve through either an AI chatbot or an AI coach, a hybrid model, or one-to-one therapy. So this is the kind of theory of change which we have. What's happened since we rolled it out? So we rolled out the Wysa chatbot earlier this year, and it was, in fact, it started off as a little experiment because we wanted some kind of a wrapper around our risk stratification layer, and it's taken off. It's just completely gone viral. We don't market it. There is no social media campaign. There is no Google AdWords, Facebook marketing, nothing. People are finding out about Wysa just because they're looking for something like this. We add about 1,000 users a day, and people from 30 countries have written into us, told us that they find this useful for PTSD, for managing chronic pain, for living with chronic disease. We've had people talk about depression, anxiety. We've had 5 million conversations on this since February. 125,000 users, lots and lots of reviews, and we're probably one of the highest rated chatbots, definitely in this space. BBC just released a review globally of chatbot therapists. They compared, I think there are 8 such products in the world, and Wysa came out on top. So one of the products we evaluated was a company called Whodat. And there was a company called Whodat out of Stanford, which we are very nervous about and we watch very closely. But thankfully, and I think very, very proud to say that we did better than them in user feedback. And more importantly, I think, so there is a lot of business cases, and there's a huge amount of inbound interest from insurance companies, from providers who are worried about mental health. We want to take this into employers and colleges and universities to handle things like exam stress or career anxiety, fear of loss of job, unemployment, things like. So there are many, many use cases here. But I think just to end on a personal note, I think what we're most proud about is the fact that we're saving lives. So on the 23rd of May, this girl wrote into us, that it was a little feedback button saying, if you have an issue, please let us know. And she actually wrote in to say this: I'm 13, I have depression, and I try to commit suicide. You're helping me hold on to myself. Thanks for everything. So, and I think this changed, I think it moved from being a startup to a mission. We started saying, I started the presentation by saying the world is on fire. We think, and AI sometimes gets a bad reputation. People start saying that, it's going to take over the world, take over our jobs, all kinds of gloom and doom scenarios. I think this is an example of using AI in kind of a humane manner to actually provide compassion. And I think this is a way we believe that you can actually, not just if the world is on fire, you can put a fire extinguisher in everyone's pocket. So thank you.
So I don't think there are too many startups which can boast of saving 4 lives, right? And I don't know how many which have not been reported. So I think that you are doing a fantastic job, and also the power of AI in terms of changing and transforming lives. So if any of you have monsters which trouble you, I do have. So I do use their app. If any of you want to use that app, I will highly recommend it. Okay? I have a question for you. In terms of digital therapeutics, right? That's a very new area where you are augmenting or removing, eating pills or things like that. What kind of skills does your team have? It's very fascinating.
It is, and I think mental health is probably one of the areas where pharmotherapy or pharmacotherapy, drug therapy is treated somewhat with a pinch of salt. You have techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, DBT, motivational interviewing. There are a huge host of techniques. Stanford has a lab called Compassion. So it's a compassion lab where they teach you gratitude meditation, which is known, things like CBT are known to perform better in reducing depression than drugs. So I think at least mental health is an issue or is an area where digital therapy works. I think CBT itself has now been proven by the NHS, for instance, to work in multitude of randomized controlled trials. And we hope to see AI-enabled chat therapy to reach the same level. So in fact, we are trying to do an RCT now with Harvard Medical to prove that this works. We've done some internal studies where we've seen that using Wysa reduces depression by 30% over 2 to 4 weeks. So I think in this area, digital therapy is huge, and it's only going to increase.
Thank you.
So,
thank you, Ramakant.
thanks.
Thank you very much. Excellent job. So I'd like to summarize here and hand it over to Dr. Shom. I think what you have seen is a very small, tip of the arrow, the glimpse of what is already available in India. So very, very good stuff in terms of deep tech is coming out, and NASSCOM has also just launched Deep Tech Club. If you are interested in that, you should definitely look at it. And I'm very proud to say also that all the 3 startups, not by intent or by, they are all on Accenture's Open Innovation program as well. So I'm very excited about the future of deep technology and AI and AR, VR in India, and look forward to interacting with all of you as we go ahead. So Shom, back to you.